Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Does physics ever seem like a big mountain that you just can't seem to climb no matter how hard you try? Right? So this is another video that we are going to do. It's going to be the fourth video in our Learn How to Learn series. So previously we have done how to study biology and how to study long periods of time. And the comments have been flooded with please do one for physics. So I'm going to do one for physics. Right. So if we are going to learn exactly how we have to study physics so that we can eventually get an A, right? So before we move forward, I'm going to tell you a bit about myself. I am Asan Safir, a third year medical student from one of the top universities in Sri Lanka, right? So I did my A-levels in 2021. So just like most of you are watching, I was also not doing well in the initial stages and somehow I pulled myself back up in the last year. So now based on my experience, I realized most of the students that are doing A-levels are from that caliber, ones who are not geniuses, the ones who have been at the bottom or even in the middle for far too long. So all I'm going to do is, I'm just going to tell you exactly how I did it so that I came from a middle level or from a lower level all the way to get 3 A's in my A-level exam. Right, so let's start. For physics paper, first you need to know that there are 50 MCQs. Now these are common things, so please feel free to skip forward 50 MCQs, and then you have 4 structured essay questions, and then you have 4 essays, right? 4 essays. So the 50 MCQs, each MCQ carries 1 mark as usual, so that's 50 marks, and 4 SCQs carries 20 marks per SCQ, so then 20 times 4, 80. 4 essays, 30 marks per essay multiplied by 4, and that's 120. 120 plus 80, 200. 200 divided by 4, 50 plus 50 from the 50 MCQs, and you can get 100. Right. So this is how the A-level physics paper is structured. Now, we need to learn exactly how we can tackle MCQs, how we can tackle SCQs, and how we are going to tackle essays. Right? Now, for anything, when we are trying to learn anything, there is a 3-step process I always ask my students to follow. Right? So let me tell you what that process is. Please excuse the setup. I didn't have much time after class to do one in the classroom itself. So you will have to make do with this setup. Again, it's not how the video looks like, but rather the content in it. Okay, so pay attention. So when you're trying to learn anything, this is the 3-step process I follow. Understanding, okay? Second one would be to actively recall. So if you are studying biology, then you can switch this up with memorization. But again, I'm not going to talk about biology here. I find it very difficult to not talk about it because I am a biology teacher myself. Anything regarding biology, please watch my previous videos, right? So you have actively recalling. Third part, review, or you can call it spaced repetition. Okay. This is the 3-step method that you need to follow to learn anything in the world, right? So now how do we apply this to physics? Now I'm going to talk about MCQs and essays together and SCQs separately. Why? Because SCQ is completely based on your practicals, while MCQ and essays are completely based on your theory, right? So now let's take a certain topic. Now you have, let's say, 1 year left for your exam, right? 1 year left for your exam. You want to start with mechanics. So let's take work energy power, right? Work energy power. Let's take work energy power. So this is one topic that you want to complete for physics. So this is how I advise you all to do it, right? First thing, understand. Now, how do you understand? I'm sure you all go for classes. If not, you go for school. If not, there is always YouTube. What I want you to do is learn or understand what work, energy, and power is. Watch YouTube videos. I used to watch Khan Academy, right? I watched a lot of Khan Academy. I watched some recordings of the my classes also. So everything I watched, and I tried my best to understand the concept, what work, energy and power is. Right. So let's say the first process, understanding, is done. Okay. So now, obviously, after you understand something, you feel like you're the king in it. Then what I do is I try to take a past paper question, or let's say a tutored question from my sir's class, or let's just take a practice question, right? I try the practice question and I get it wrong, right? I'm sure many of you all can relate, right? When you think that you understand something and then you try to apply it in a question, you sometimes or most of the time you get it wrong. That is okay. This is where the second step comes into play. Active recall. Right. So now you understood what work means. You understood what energy is, right? Anybody knows what work and energy is. But applying it into a question is a different ball game. So now, how will I do this? Let's take the pace rule. I'm sure a lot of you all know pace rule. Pace rule is like a holy grail in A levels. Okay, for chemistry, physics and biology, everything has pace rule. So I would take pace rule. I would go to this work, energy and power topic. Once I go to this work, energy and power topic, there are I think around 30 MCQs, if I'm not mistaken. 30 MCQs under work, energy and power. This includes all the easy questions, all the medium difficulty questions and all the hard questions. So what I am going to do is, I am going to attempt these MCQs. It doesn't matter if I get it wrong or if I get it right, I am going to attempt these MCQs. Let's say I tried the first MCQ. As I tried the first MCQ, I got it wrong. What I would do at that very moment is to take a review book. There are so many review books for physics. You can find it anywhere. Take a review book, read the review and try to understand. They have given the workings, they have given the methods. You read the review book, try to understand it and try to do this question. So, like I told you, physics questions can be categorized based on their difficulty. Some are easy, some you need to just think a bit, some are very difficult, like the ones that come in the last step. Okay. So now, if these questions falls into the easy or medium category, just by reading the review book, right? Just by reading the review book, or you go and search on YouTube how to do it. There are plenty of people who do physics reviews of past papers in Sinhala medium and Tamil medium. Like physics, you don't necessarily need to know the language that much, no. So watch those videos and try to understand. Easy or around medium difficulty questions, you will be able to figure out how it works. However, when it comes to the really difficult ones, even after reading a review, even after watching YouTube videos, if you are still not able to understand, there are so many discussion sites. Right? There are so many discussion sites found in our A-level groups. Send these questions to those groups. Send these questions to your class teachers. Send these questions to your tuition teachers and your school teachers. Right? Tuition teachers, obviously, they will not answer within the time that you need. But since you all are going to school now, you can always go to school and take hold of your physics teacher and all the difficult questions you can ask. Do this in such a way such that all 30 MCQs in work and energy power is like this for you, right? At the end of this, at the end of understanding and doing these questions, by the 30th MCQ, all 30 MCQs, you should be able to know how you got the answer. You should be able to get it right. Why? Because you made a mistake, you understand where you went wrong, you make sure that you don't make that mistake again. Okay, likewise, you did all 30 MCQs. So if you're starting this around in the beginning stages, it might take you even 1 week. It might even take you 1 week just for these 30 MCQs. But it's okay. In the beginning, it's always slow. But the more you keep doing it, the better you will get. Right? So stay with me now. So now, once you do all 30 MCQs, and once you understand where you went wrong, and once you try it again and then you get right, then you move on to the essay questions. So just like how there are MCQ questions for work, energy and power, there are essay questions. Right? There are essay questions. Once you move on to these essay questions, let's say there are 10 essay questions. Let's say there are 10 essay questions, right? So you try these essay questions. Essay questions are a bit easier than MCQ in my opinion. right? Because most of the essay questions are very direct except for the latter part of the essay question. Everything else is pretty direct. All you need to do is just substitute, right? So essay questions, you try all these 10 essay questions. Again, follow the same method. Do it. If you can't do it, check out a review. If you don't understand yet, move on to YouTube. If you don't understand once you move on to YouTube, send it to those discussion sites or ask your friends. If your friends also don't know how to do it, give it to your tuition teachers. If they don't reply on time, then you go to school and ask your class teachers and make sure that person teaches you exactly how to get it right. Right? So make sure you utilize all the resources around you. You go to school for, if you're going to school, then you go to school for research. If you're going to a tuition teacher, make sure that person responds to your questions. That is why you go to a class now. Right? So then that is the best way. In physics, in chemistry also, you learn by making mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the better you get. Right? So, I mean, you have to brace in the beginning. For sure, you will be making many mistakes, but as you get better, as you keep on doing physics again and again, your mistake number will reduce. So the goal is to make as many mistakes as you can before your A-level exam, so that in your A-level exam you will make 0 mistakes. Right. I hope I pressed record. Yes, I did. Right. So this is the technique that you should follow for MCQs and essays. Now I have told this understanding part. I told you what you need to do for this understanding part. The active recall is also okay. Active recall is the process of actually practicing the question. Okay? Right. Third part is the review. Okay? Third part is the review. What is the date today? Today is the 24th of May. Let's say you did this work, energy, power this week. So from 24th of May, from 24th of May, 30th of May. This is the week that you spend to study work energy power, to do all the questions regarding work energy power, and to do all the essays regarding work energy power. Right. Now, you need to make sure you do these questions again sometime in the future, so you don't forget whatever you learned during this period of time. Okay. However, unlike biology, where your review dates need to be closer, in physics, since you're understanding a concept and using maths to come to your answers, the review dates do not have to be as close in biology. So what you can do is, if 24th to 30th of May is the date where you studied work energy power, 1.5 months later even, let's say May, June, July, 8th of July to, let's say, 12th of July. Okay? Right. 1.5 months later even, for example, on the 8th and 10th of July, make sure you do these 30 MCQs in work energy and power and these 10 essay questions on these 8th, 9th, 10th, on these 3 days. Keep in mind, as you notice, 24th to 30th is 7 days, however, here is only 3 days. Why? This is the second time you're doing these questions. If you're doing these questions for the second time, you surely have an idea on how to do these questions. Therefore, you do not need that long. So this is like a reinforcement to all the theory that you learned, all those loopholes in these questions that you missed, right? So this is very important. You need to review it. Then 1.5 months later, let's say July, you review it. Then again 2.5 months later, 3 months later, and you keep moving forward. So now this is during the process of learning the theory, right? The reason why you need to do this is because, now for example, if you take somebody is in their last 3 months of A-level exam, these people will not do classified MCQs. They are most likely to do full papers. So when they are most likely to do full papers, surely there are some work energy power questions. So every time they are doing a full paper, they will encounter work energy power questions. So they do not need to review it as much. But however, if you are just learning the theory, if you are just starting out in A-levels, or if you are just being 1 year into A-levels, right, you need to make sure all the content that you studied are reviewed one day. Okay? You need to decide when that day is, but you need to make sure the content that you learned are reviewed, because our mind is prone to forget things. Okay, so now you learned exactly how to study MCQ and essays in a certain topic. Do this for all the topics. Maintain a book, maintain a physical book or electronic, whatever is your preference, to maintain these reviews. When you need to study a certain topic, you call it a retrospective timetable. Like today you're deciding, okay, 1.5 months later in the future, I'm going to study this again. So this is the best format for learning anything. You will make sure you remember it for a longer period of time, right? So this is how you encounter MCQs and essays. So you start with, let's say you're starting with units and dimensions, you finish units and dimensions, you go to measurements, then you finish measurements, and then you go to, what is that one? Linear motion, and so on. So I can't remember exactly every unit, right? So you keep doing that. Eventually, let's say you finished your first term. So there is a certain syllabus no, for first term. So once you finish first term, try to find as many first term papers as possible. Try to find as many first term papers as possible with their marking schemes and attempt it. It doesn't matter if you get low marks, because it's okay to get low marks at home. It's okay to get low marks at school. It's not okay to get low marks in A-levels. So don't be afraid to fail now. If you fail now, it's okay. What you should be afraid is to fail in the A-levels. So that won't happen if you exactly follow whatever I'm saying in this Learn to Learn series. Right. So do this for every unit, in every unit and every sub-unit under each unit, for all the units in physics, right? And then once you are capable of doing term papers, do the term papers. Once you are capable of doing full papers, do the full papers. Papers, papers, papers. Practice, practice, practice. That's the only way to do physics. You ask anybody who got an A in physics, not a single fellow will say, when I wanted to study physics, I just took the resource book and read. No, every single fellow would have taken the past papers. So if you take me for example, I did past papers from 1990 to 2019. So 1990 to 2019, I did all the MCQs. 2000 to 2020, I did all the essays, MCQs, I think 2 or 3 times, right? I left 2020 aside. Why? Because I wanted to keep the 2020 paper like my mock A-level paper, right? As my mock A-level paper before I do my actual A-level paper. So then that gave me some confidence, since I think I got more than 75 or around 80 for that paper. So then I felt a bit more confident to go into my A-level paper, right? So papers is the most important thing, past papers, okay? Right. So now we learned how to study for MCQs and SCQs. Then we will move on to SCQs, structure. Structure. How many structures do you have? You have 4 structures. You have 4 structures, 20 marks each structure, okay, 20. Now let me tell you this. Structured is the easiest place in the physics paper to get full marks. This 80 marks, so 80 means divide by 4, 20 marks, right? 20 marks should be, you should get 100% of these 20 marks. Why? Because these practicals, you can find all of these practicals on YouTube. Every single one of these practicals on YouTube. You also have this practical handbook, right? So the instruments needed, the method, everything is there in the practical handbook, right? And the certain special scenarios that you find, okay, what if you use this instead of this? What are the errors that you come across? So these things are all there in the handbook. Not only the handbook, again, what is it? Past papers, right? The more past, every single past paper, go through every practical in every single past paper and try those questions. But before you try those questions, first understand the theory, right? Go through the practical, watch a video. After you watch a video, read the practical handbook, and then you attempt the questions. Remember though, certain questions in this, now for if you take an example of a past paper, question number 2, let's say, question number 2 might be a special question. So in addition to the normal practical, they might have given an additional thing where you need to use your brain to answer, okay? Where you need to use your brain to answer. In those type of situations, those answers are not found in the practical guide. So what you need to do is, you need to take note of these special points and include it into your practical resource. So if you have your practical handbook, you need to include it into your practical handbook, saying this here this question asked about this. This is how you answer if they ever ask you this question again. So if you try all the practicals from 2000 all the way to 2024, all the practicals, take note of all the special points that they have mentioned. And again, understanding is where you watch the video, read the practical handbook. Active recall, where you attempt the question, and then if there are any special points, you note it down in your practical handbook. Third part is the review. So there are around 40 practicals, let's say. Make sure you systematically review each practical. Okay, where you systematically review each practical such that once you go for the exam, all 40 practicals are fresh in your memory. And then once you, let's say, you are able to do every single practical question all the way from 2000 to 2020, this 20, 40, 60, 80 marks will be nothing. Okay, so this is how you get 100% for your SCQ question. So if I want to give you a small recap on exactly what you need to do, if you, let's say, you didn't pay attention at all this entire video, if you ask me how to study physics, my answers will be papers. Papers, 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 right? If you follow these papers, if you do these papers, and not only should you do these papers, if you do these papers in the method I told you to do, 100% sure you will get a very high A for physics, guaranteed. Okay, right. So now there's a few more things I need to say regarding this. When you start this, okay, now let's say you haven't studied at all. Let's say you haven't studied at all. There's only like 1 year left. Let's say there's only 1 year left for your exam, right? When you start this off, this process will be very slow. You will not be able to do that many questions. Why? Because you haven't done this for so long. Now when you're starting, it will be difficult in the beginning. But don't worry about it. You need to keep doing it. Consider physics, doing physics like, or any subjects in A levels, consider it like losing weight, right? So just because you studied very hard today doesn't mean you will get everything right tomorrow. Same thing, just because you dieted really hard today, you exercised a lot today, doesn't mean you're going to lose 10 kilos and get a six-pack tomorrow. Same thing with physics, chemistry and biology, or for any A level subject, or for anything in life that in that matter, right? It will never come easy. If anything comes easy, it will not stay for long, right? And one more thing, if it is easy, everybody would have done it. But only around 1% of the population, or 2% of the population actually, 2% of the people who write A levels actually go into medicine. No, that's the final goal. If you're bio, you will want to go into medicine. If you're math student, you will want to go for engineering, right? So that's the final goal. And only a small population will go. If it was easy, the entire population will go. But the reason why only the 2% or the 1% go into these faculties is because they worked harder than the 99%. You can't expect to be in the top 1% if you don't work harder than the 99%. So make sure you don't give up, be consistent, right? Don't think about, oh, I have 10 units left. No, focus on the now. Focus on what you have next. Okay, I don't even have mechanics left. All I have is work energy power. Finish work energy power, move on to the next one. Don't think that forward into the future yet. Just think about what you have to do for tomorrow. That's all, right? So in the beginning, it will seem tough, but it's okay. You need to make sure you keep at it without getting discouraged. Keep at it. It will be completely all right. Once you keep doing it for around 3 to 4 months, you will, after, let's say in 3 months, you start getting questions right? Okay, you start getting questions right. It will feel addictive. Physics or chemistry will feel addictive after you start getting questions right. You will not want to do biology at all, right? I'm talking for biology students in this case. You will not want to do biology at all, because after you start getting physics and chemistry right, after you start getting correct for most of these questions, you will not want to do biology, because the feeling you feel after you get a question right is immeasurable to anything that you can find in this world, in my opinion, right? So don't worry about it. One more thing that I need to say, please surround yourself with good friends. So these friends are the ones who are actually going to help you. If you paid attention to this video, I told you, you need to give these discussions or the hard questions and discuss it with your friends, your teachers. So make sure you're around good company, because if you're around good company only, they will push you and motivate you to go forward. Keeping that in mind, there are some people who send questions from some model papers from some corner in the country that even Einstein can't solve. Please don't attempt those questions and get demotivated, right? Do not worry, because there was this pilot exam in 2021. I think it's a commonly ongoing exam. It was close to 3 months before my exam. I'm not very sure. I can't remember it exactly. But I knew for a fact, if I go for that exam, if I went for that exam, I would have gotten 3F or maybe 3S, barely. Because I have tried their model papers, I knew if I went to their exam, I would have gotten 3S or 3F. So I didn't go for that exam at all. But eventually I did my A-levels and I got 3S. Okay, so all in all, for physics, do papers, right? So that is it I have to tell you regarding how to actually study physics. Okay, so if there are any other problems that you all are facing, or any other subjects that you want me to do, or if there are any more study tips that you want me to tell, please put them in the comments below so that I can make a video like this in the future, right? That's it for me. Hope you all like the video. Share it to somebody who you think will benefit from this, and please subscribe. Thank you.